Hello everyone, Logan from Curated Avalon, and today I'm going to be cleaning a bunch of my fountain pens. I grabbed everyone that was in my close vicinity to clean today because I've neglected them. I used to clean my fountain pens, once a week or at least once a month, just depended on how often I was using them. And I honestly don't remember the last time I sat down to clean my fountain pens really well, so that's not great. And I'm going to clean what I can find today. I'm going to start with my Benu Euphoria Vodka on the Rocks. This pen has a broad nib, and I typically keep shimmer ink in this pen just because I use shimmer inks quite often, and it's a broad nib, and it's a sparkly pen. It just seems like a no-brainer. Shimmer inks do take a lot longer to clean out. I have a Vanishing point in a medium nib. That would be my Stripes pen, so if you've seen it, it's the shiny silver one. I put a shimmer ink back around Christmas in that pen. I don't usually put shimmer inks in that pen. I usually just keep a nice solid black in it. And I'm still getting shimmer out of that pen as many times as I've cleaned it, used it, re-inked it. I'm still getting a hint of a shimmer in that pen still. So it's actually been quite entertaining for me. I don't really mind if there's leftover shimmer. The only thing, it can be a little annoying if you're trying to show the true properties of a particular ink that you have in your pen. Other than that, I think a little shimmer is quite interesting. And this pen is my Peniter Avatar SE. This is the all black. This pen was a gift, and I have enjoyed it quite a bit. It has a magnetic cap, and I try to avoid those fountain pens for a while that just have the magnetic snap-on cap because I thought they might dry out a little bit more. It might be more of a hard starter. This one has been more of a hard starter for me, but I think it just needs to be tuned a little bit. The nib itself, the magnetic closure on the pen seems to be nice and tight. And I've really enjoyed this pen. It's more of a sketch pen for me than just an actual writing. Although I use it for everything, but I typically keep like Noodlers Rome Burning in it or some kind of golden ink. I kind of always know that I've got some kind of gold or yellow ink in that pen. I actually could not find my pen flush today. I know it's somewhere, just can't find it. And so I'm doing all just plain water, which is great. It's not as good when you're cleaning out really intense hues or shimmer inks, but I think it's really good to just clean your pens with straight water occasionally. Sometimes the pen wash, if you don't rinse it out enough, will kind of hinder your ink flow just a touch. I don't know, maybe it's my imagination. Just make sure that if you do use a pen flush to wash that out as well with just plain water. It really helps. And I try to experiment every time I clean fountain pens to see if there's a shortcut or something I hadn't thought of before, something that'll make it a little bit easier or a little bit faster to clean. It just all depends. Typically ends up in just a bigger mess, but sometimes I'll find something out that's very helpful. I did recently have the question asked as to which pen is my current favorite, and as much as I still hate to admit it, the Pilot Vanishing Point in Stripes is still my absolute workhorse. I just did not want to like a capless pen. That was not in my aesthetic. Like, that wasn't what I wanted to like the best. But it is the most efficient and the most comfortable for long-term writing for me. So it's still the favorite. As far as like a great second, I've been writing a lot with my Leonardo pens that I bought at Virginia Beach in a Pen Lover's Paradise. I had the chance to try those. The first one I tried was the Memento Magico, which I did not know anything about these pens. A couple people had asked me to try them, and it just wasn't something that I felt like I needed, so I didn't buy one, but getting to try it in person, the Memento Magico, which I did not know this until later, but the whole point of it is if you write with it, it's like this magic moment and you have to buy it. Well, I can assure you that is absolutely true. That is what happened with me. I tried it and it was like as soon as that nib touched the paper, I went, oh shoot, yeah, I'm going to have this. This is just gorgeous. And it was a fine nib. I don't really like fine nibs. I go from medium to broad, but I bought that one, and then I came back later to the shop and bought her other one that she had. It was a Fiore instead of the Magico, and that beautiful like galaxy blue color, which apparently is kind of hard to find. I didn't know it in the moment, but I thought it was stunning. I got that one in a medium nib and have loved it ever since, and I'm kind of a big fan now of the Leonardo pens. So I have been writing with those quite a bit lately. And oddly enough, I have red inks in the Leonardo Magico, which is a solid black pen, but I've been keeping red inks in it. And then in the Fiore, I have a blue ink to match the pen, which is that gorgeous Faber-Castell, the cobalt blue. I also had a question about my Galen leather pen case, the zip around that has like the little kickstand, which a piece of it is in this video. That's the little insert that pulls out. How I'd been doing with that case. So a while back, I had kind of designed this case in my mind, what the perfect fountain pen case would be. And then Galen Leather released this a few months after, and I was like, oh my goodness, this has all of the features I was looking for. It's absolutely perfect. But the little piece of elastic that works as a kickstand, so to speak, to prop it up has not worked for me. It literally worked the first 2 times I opened it, and that was it. So I need to go, this would take 5 minutes, but just to hand stitch that elastic a little tighter, I think will fix the problem. So I just need to sit down and do that because I would very much like that feature. So yes, I love the case. I do wish that the elastic worked better right out of the box. I would buy another one though, because it's so convenient. The magnetic flap that comes back was honestly what I was looking for the most. Removable tray is fantastic. The zip around is great, and the elastic kickstand when it works is also fantastic. But I really wanted the magnetic flap that would pull back, because I often have at least 3 pens that I'm going between if I'm having a long writing session. So I'll typically have a black, a red, and a blue ink, and being able to have them in a little tray, something that sits open instead of me having to keep opening a flap or whatever, that's really helpful. I tried like pulling out the 3 pens and setting them next to me. They inevitably roll or get lost somewhere. So the pull-out tray is great too. I've really liked that as well. And here I'm going to be grabbing a syringe to help clean out a converter. This is the absolute quickest method I have ever used. I know it's a little messy here. If you're over a sink, it goes really quickly. But honest to goodness, a syringe cleaning out a converter, the absolute quickest method I've ever used. You just keep pumping in that clean water. It will force all of the ink pigment out. It's just so fast. When I think about all the time I've spent twisting on the cartridge, getting the clean water up, expelling it just over and over and over again, and trying to knock out those last few drops of ink from a converter, it drives me crazy. Yes. So this syringe, this is like the private reserve, so it doesn't have any resistance to it as you're using it. I recommend that for cleaning. You can use like a medical syringe. There's just a lot of resistance there, so it's better for the spatters and ink samples, whereas the private reserve syringe has worked really well for just cleaning because you don't get like just this kind of crazy blast of water, which kind of makes the ink go absolutely everywhere. But yeah, that's like my biggest tip for cleaning out your converters. I don't know, I'm sure someone has thought of it before. I did it one day kind of by accident. I was like, oh, the laws of this and that should mean that this ink will get out a lot faster with this syringe, and it did. So I've been pretty much doing it that way ever since. Sometimes I'll experiment some more just to see if I can find something even more quicker than that, but I don't think there is anything. So yeah, definitely have a syringe, even if you're not going to be doing fun ink spatters, for cleaning the converters in your pens. Oh my goodness, go so much more quickly. I also had the recent question as to how long I've been using fountain pens. And it's kind of, I've used them off and on for at least 10 years, maybe 15. I started with like feather pens when I was a kid. So the quills that I would just find feathers out in the yard and carve them out myself. They weren't particularly good, but I did it. I made walnut ink as a kid. So I've always in some way been interested in pens and ink, as opposed to the modern day ballpoint. So in that way, I've been kind of playing around with it for a long time. But an actual fountain pen I bought as a teenager. I wanted to save on ink, and I wanted an ink that was more permanent than just like the gel inks in the pens in the store. I was buying so many of the gel pens and the refills. I was spending so much money on all of this plastic that it was aggravating to me. And I just kept thinking, aesthetically, I would love something that was a little bit more beautiful, something I would take care of more, something that wouldn't deteriorate as quickly. And I looked into Noodlers ink as being a very permanent alternative to what I was using currently. And I think I bought a Pilot Metropolitan as my first actual fountain pen. I'd played with like calligraphy pens and stuff, but yeah, I think that was my first one. And like Noodlers black or eel black. I'm not sure. I'll have to look and see which one it was. I still have the bottle somewhere. I did not end up liking the ink. It was like a little greasy, and the color wasn't my favorite. I know a black ink should be a black ink, but it just wasn't quite what I was looking for in terms of personal preference. As far as permanence went, it was quite excellent. So I did use it, but I did not get into all of the different colored inks until much, much later. I stopped using fountain pens for a while, mostly because I kept losing it, like all of the time. I thought, well, I have this cheap fountain pen. If I can take care of it, then maybe I can buy myself a more expensive one. Well, I couldn't take care of that Metropolitan to save my life. I think I bought 2 of them. I bought another one later and tried to keep up with them. And I kept losing it like in the sofa cushion and in bags and stuff. And I thought, well, I just don't have the responsibility required to take care of a fountain pen, which was kind of weird because I loved it. I took it everywhere with me, but I kept losing it. So I dropped that for a few years and came back to it when I was having major wrist issues. Like I could not use a ballpoint pen for 15 seconds and my wrist was in pain. 2 minutes max was what I could do with a ballpoint pen. A gel pen, I could write for about 10 minutes before I was in agony. And so I was looking into fountain pens as an alternative. I thought, well, maybe if I don't have to apply pressure, then my wrist won't hurt so much. I went from only being able to write for about 10 to 15 minutes to writing a full half hour with a fountain pen and not even feeling it. And when I say I had wrist issues, I couldn't even like stir a pot for like a few minutes. It would hurt so bad. I even ended up with like a special wooden spoon to stir food when I was cooking food. My wrist was having so many issues at the time. And it was just from overuse. Quilter, lots of different activities that just way overused my arm and my wrist and my fingers my entire life. And it just all caught up to me. So fountain pen, I started writing hours a day with, and it really wouldn't hurt until, depending on the fountain pen, like the Pilot Vanishing Point in stripes, I can write with for hours before I even feel it in my wrist. Some of the other fountain pens, it's probably going to be closer to an hour before I'm like, I need a break. So it made such a huge difference in my life for a while, because I do work with authors on their world building. It's just hours and hours of notes. So they give me their material, their goal, what they're trying to reach overall with their story. They kind of show me what their writing style is, and I just sit and just try to keep things consistent for them so that they don't have to worry about that so much. So I'm not an editor. I don't sit and edit their work, but I sit and world build, and then they end up with all this detail. They'll ask me questions, and we kind of go back and forth on it. It's really difficult to be like a secondary creative mind in a project and try not to influence the author in a negative way. So handwritten notes is pretty much how I do that. Sometimes they need digital content, so that's where the free write comes in for me. But yeah, so I was writing like 8 hours a day with fountain pens, writing these notes for world building and outlining for this one person in particular that was working on a series that was going to span prequels and main story and all. Yeah, it was a lot of work. But yeah, and 8 hours a day of writing, that's very significant to go from like being able to write for 15 minutes to, 8 hours with a couple of breaks. So yeah, fountain pens completely changed my life in that way. Being able to just actually sit and write something and not be in so much pain, knowing that I can change up my inks how I want to. It's really been fun as far as that goes. And getting back to the cleaning of the pens. So this looks like my Pelican or Pelican. I say both, honestly. I don't know which is the correct way. I usually say Pelican, but if I think the word out and see how it's spelled, sometimes I'll say Pelican. However anybody cares to say it. My Pelican Suveron pen, this is like the black and the silver stripes. I love this pen. I'd heard so many people describe writing with a Pelican and how it was just so buttery smooth and just a different writing experience. I bought this one at kind of like a swap thing. This gentleman was getting rid of some of his pens like he'd never used, and I picked this one up. This is the smallest size. I would definitely like to go up a size. Like, this is comfortable for me and I can get by with it, but I would love to have this pen in a larger size for sure. But yeah, the experience with these nibs, it feels fancy. I don't even know how to describe it properly. It's very comfortable. Okay, so when I write with one of these pens, I think of Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians in like the cartoon where she's sitting and she's signing a check. Like, I need to watch that scene again because I don't even remember what she was writing with. I think it was a fountain pen. But I think of that moment of just like whipping out a checkbook and just writing it out. And it's kind of a bizarre thing, but I love these pens and I love the nib. If I had to pick between a Vanishing Point and a Pelican, I'd have to go with the Vanishing Point just because it's so convenient and comfortable to write with, but the Pelican definitely has a very fancy feel. I also had the question as to why I use so much Noodlers ink. Noodlers ink was the first fountain pen ink I ever bought, and I think it was the historical labels and just that it had a traditional feel overall that I really liked initially. That kept me buying the inks, also the qualities, the colors. It's made in the USA, so it's very accessible to me. A lot of these other inks, even Diamine and all that, they are far more accessible now. But when I first started out, there just wasn't that much of an option. Like, it would have to be imported. I'd have to find a store that had it. So Noodlers was super easy. I think I even purchased it on Amazon initially because I didn't know of any fountain pen stores, even online, to buy from at the time. So I got my start with Noodlers and just didn't have a reason to fall out of love with the ink itself. The qualities have been great. I do think the bottles are boring. I will definitely get on that bandwagon. They're very useful and they do hold a lot of ink. I can get quite a few of those bottles in my drawers versus the other prettier bottles that take up so much more space. So they're very practical, but they aren't particularly pretty. I do love the labels. The fish ones, not so much, but I really like the really pretty ones. I'm trying to think one of my absolute favorites. I think probably Rome Burning before that label changed was my favorite. It was very artistic, had the history involved. It just looked very rich. I liked that one a lot. I really like some of the more artsy looking ones, like the Lucky Shamrock. That was really cool. The Valentine ink that he came up with, that one cracked me up. That was hilarious. This catfish dressed up as some kind of like demon Cupid or whatever. I say demon just for fun, but no, it was just like this catfish dressed up as like this Cupid. I mean, that was hilarious. It was really bizarre, but it was funny. I loved Goulet Pens, A Liberty's Elysium when they had that. I think that was also one of my favorite labels. And I like Dark Matter's label. It's just a picture of Oppenheimer, but it's cool. The Navajo Sunset was a beautiful label, and it's now Southwest Sunset. That's still a very pretty label. So yeah, I mean, Noodler's ink it was very accessible, and I haven't had an issue with the quality, so I kind of keep going back to it. I have branched out more recently. Ferris Wheel Press is a constant for me. Such a great ink, especially shimmer ink. I really haven't had very many of their non-shimmer inks. I think it just kind of is synonymous with Ferris Wheel Press at this point that the ink is going to have shimmer. So definitely enjoyed their inks. And as somebody, I never intended to even try shimmer inks. So, and how I use them every day. I've definitely enjoyed that. Diamine has been an ink I use quite often. The J Urban, that is new for me. I just bought one of those this year and I'm using that one daily. That Hematite Rouge, it was in my Leonardo Memento, but I moved it to another pen. But that's my Kilk Camera Laterna pen right now. But love that ink. It's like this bright blood red with a gold shimmer. And I still use my Diamine Writer's Blood, favorite red ink to use. That one looks more like dried blood. Oh goodness, what else do I use a lot of? I've been using some Pilot inks this year that I hadn't tried before. They're Irijizuku. That's been really fun. Very vibrant inks that I've tried. I don't know. I have a lot of ink at this point. Monteverde, lots of different inks, and I really need to use more of them. So it is October, and for my Inktober, I'm using an ink a day, so you can check that out if you want. It'll be on Instagram and YouTube. I'll also keep track of it on the blog, CuratedAvalon.com. So I'm finally going to get to some of those inks that I have been completely neglecting. I have also had the question as to why I just won't give up Moleskine notebooks. I'd love to know the answer to that question myself. The plain papered notebooks from Moleskine so far, I think I had like one bad one that I really couldn't use, but the ones that I've bought recently have been just fine for fountain pen ink. I hate to say that, like, go and buy the plain papered ones, you'll be fine, because their quality control is so incredibly inconsistent. However, the ones I've bought recently have been fine. I just don't buy the lined anymore. I don't buy the graph anymore. I just get the plain paper. If I need some kind of grid, I'll go to like a Clairefontaine or something else, Tomaway River. But yeah, so no, I don't know what it is about the Moleskine. I don't know if it was like the first more expensive notebook I used and I just can't give it up, or what. But there's something about the feel, the materials, the sizing that I just love. Because I've tried Leuchtturm, I have tried so many different brands, and Moleskine is just the one that I can't give up. I don't think I've ever actually finished a Leuchtturm notebook. I've used them for a lot of different things, and they're kind of just like running notebooks. I've used them for bullet journaling, specific topics, keeping track of stuff, but I don't think I've ever actually finished one. So either the project ends before the notebook does, or it's just something that just kind of I have to keep coming back to, like say a bullet journal or something. It's kind of, the Leuchtturm notebooks have been like chapstick for me. You never actually finish a stick. Moleskine notebooks I go through quite a few of, not so much lately, just because I've been more busy and my content, I've a lot more on the free write versus writing recently. So that would be that. If I had to give up Moleskine notebook and go to something else, I guess it would have to be Leuchtturm until I found something else. I really do like their paper and I like their notebooks. What I tend to use from them is their soft cover with plain paper. And I even like had some of those embossed directly from the company. I've really enjoyed those. I have no complaints with them whatsoever. One thing about cleaning fountain pens now for me is I used to only have converter filled. Now I have some of the piston filled, so that's a couple of different methods, and I am not great with cleaning the piston filled fountain pens yet. That's something I definitely need to work on. I probably need to look up some things and see if anyone else has some tricks, because I can't quite get that last bit of ink out. So that's the new challenge for me. And I filled up that whole pitcher of inky water, so I'm going to have to start again. I still have several pens to clean at this point. And, okay, so I am currently cleaning what looks like the Leonardo Fiore, I think. Yes, and I do have a complaint about this pen. So I thought it was really cool that the converter was like all metal on the end, but it rattles in the pen and it kind of drives me crazy. And I guess I just need to put a little bit of something to cushion it so that doesn't happen anymore. But it moves inside of the pen and kind of hits back and forth in the body of the pen, and it does drive me crazy. I don't think it's the noise that it makes so much as the feeling of it hitting in the pen. So I might have to add like a little bumper to the end of that converter. I'm pretty sure that's what the problem is. I just wasn't expecting it. And I thought for a while, I'm like, it's something you're doing wrong. You're not screwing something in tight enough. And I was like, no, I think it's just the fact that this converter has the metal on the end like it does, which it looks very cool and it looks very substantial. And I love that they have the personalized converters, but I definitely am going to have to find a way to cushion that, see if it will rattle a little less. Other than that, the pen is absolutely fantastic. Love that pen. I've actually been grabbing for that one more often than any of my other pens. Even my Vanishing point, like unless I need to be writing with black ink, I've been grabbing that Fiore much more with the blue ink in it. Another question I was asked recently was how I organize all of my fountain pen supplies. Well, I never intended to have a lot of fountain pen supplies. I thought I was gonna always be the person that had like 2, maybe 3 fountain pens tops and a couple of black inks, maybe a blue, maybe a red, and that would be the extent of my collection. That is not what happened. So I think for like 2 years when I started using fountain pens again, I had like 1 fountain pen, maybe 2, and just those couple of inks, and that was it. Well, since then, I have quite an extensive collection, whether it's bottles of ink or ink samples. I have quite a few fountain pens now, so this is quite sad, but so much so that I have a few that are lost right now, and I know they're somewhere, I just don't know where they are. And yeah, I have quite a few at this point, and nothing is organized. That is something that is on my to-do list. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty organization either. It's just going to be, the bottles are going to be in drawers or something. However, it does need to be got under control. But yeah, tons of ink samples, tons of ink, and quite a few pens at this point. I do need to do a current collection video. I am ashamed I haven't done that for y'all. You keep asking me for it. I just keep thinking I'm going to find those last couple of pens and then I can do, an actual complete collection video. I'm just going to have to do a collection video I can currently find and show y'all what I have. Yeah, give everything a really good cleaning and show it off and see what I actually have. So here we have the infamous Vanishing Point in stripes. This pen has been an absolute champ. I can't believe this pen isn't worn out as much as I've used it over the past few years. It has finally taken a beating. It has been dropped. It has had things dropped on it, and it finally has a few decent dents on the outside. It doesn't hinder my using it. It has given it some character, but it took a few years and it finally has some wear to it. And this is that Leonardo Memento. This is the all black, and this is a piston filled pen, so it takes me a little bit longer to get it good and cleaned out, but I had a red ink in it, and I knew I was probably going to be putting another red ink back in, so I wasn't too concerned with it, but I did want to get it cleaned out. And this has that fine nib. I've really been enjoying it. I'm not sure I'm ever going to put a black ink in it. It might just stay red. And if you're interested, the mug in the video is my Curated Avalon mug. You can check it out on my website, curatedAvalon.com, and purchase one for yourself. On the back it says, "I think, therefore I write with fountain pens." I thought I would actually be using the mug to drink out of, but it has been my fountain pen cleaning it's in my box now of stuff I use to clean the fountain pens with, so there you go. Got hijacked. I used to really enjoy cleaning my fountain pens, and I don't so much lately. finally getting to that point because I used to really, really enjoy it. And I think I just have so many of them now that I'm using all the time that when I go to clean the pens, it's not like just 3 or 4, it's more like 7 pens at a time. So I need to break it up a little bit, do like 3 one week, 3 another week, instead of just all at once every time. And I'll probably enjoy it more. Maintaining the things that you use daily actually brings a lot of satisfaction because you know you're the reason that that thing is still working and is still able to serve you properly. So that I get a lot of satisfaction out of. I've also been asked recently what books I've been reading. I haven't read that many books the last couple of years. I've been just really busy and I did not make the time to read. But a really great fall read is The Hidden Hand by E.D.E.N. Southworth. And it was written pre-Civil War, I believe. I might be wrong, but it's in that realm, by a woman, and it's set in Virginia. And it just has the perfect, mysterious adventure. It's really cool. So if you like Pride and Prejudice, it's not really like Pride and Prejudice, but you're going to get that 1800s writing style. It's about several different people, but one of the main characters is this young girl who suddenly finds herself in a mansion and a very different style of life for herself, and she is very much a tomboy, likes to get in trouble, ends up in all kinds of situations. There's a robber involved and a ruffian and pistols at dawn situation. It's very entertaining. So it's a longer book. It would be an excellent October read. I've read it many times through the years and have enjoyed it. It's kind of like a Jane Austen Tolstoy blend. Like, I'm not really sure how else to describe it. It's definitely like a blend. So you have kind of the Tolstoy version of a whole bunch of people are involved and a lot of people are connected through these stories, and then kind of that Pride and Prejudice feel of the 1800s. So that book is available from Lamplighter Publishing. They republish old books that are out of print. I have been buying books from them for years. I love their stuff. A lot of the books have a Christian theme to them, which I don't mind. That's what the literature was then for the most part, and it's very authentic to that. The reprints that they do have gorgeous covers. They're very beautiful, so you get that whole vibe with your purchase. I love that. I love sitting and having a book that feels like a real book. Not to knock modern books, but they have lost a lot of that tactile connection with a story for me. And I probably should have talked about this in the beginning of the video, but my pen cleaning supplies, if I'm at the sink, all I need is my pen flush and the bulb syringe, regular syringe, maybe 1 or 2 little cups, and then the fountain pens and a paper towel. Like, that's pretty much it. If I'm coming over to the table like this in this video, I have the towels down, I have a thing of water, paper towels, all of that good stuff, because obviously you're dealing with ink and you're trying to clean pens out on a table instead of over a sink, which is fine. I love it for long sessions. It's very soothing. I usually have the TV on or listen to an audiobook while I'm doing it. But the sink is definitely more convenient. So as far as pens I'm looking to acquire in my future, it's going to be a while. I just don't really need anything. There's a lot of things that I want. I would love to have another Vanishing point in stripes as a backup. I'd love to have another one of those just because. And as far as new stuff goes, I try not to look. I try not to see what's being released because then I know I'm going to want it and I just don't need anything. Want plenty of things, but I don't need them. Inks are a little bit more difficult to ignore because they cost so much less and they're so much more budget friendly. And then you don't have to just use them in a fountain pen. You can paint with them, you can do artwork with them, so many different uses for fountain pen inks. I'm really wanting to work on some Christmas ornaments this year using some like ink samples, some things that maybe I don't necessarily want to keep in my collection, but also don't want to throw away. I would love to hear from y'all as to what kind of pens you're interested in, whether they're new releases, older releases, vintage pens. I'd love to hear about either your collection or what you're looking to collect. So please comment down in the comment section below. Let me know what y'all are up to because I'm sitting here answering a few questions, but I would love to hear y'all's either opinion or what's in your collections or what you're doing with your fountain pens or maybe inks or what you're looking to acquire in future. Or even cleaning tips. I'll always love to hear about your fountain pen cleaning tips or just fountain pen tips in general, things that maybe I didn't know or would just love to be reminded of. And I have been getting over being sick yet again. And so I'm losing my voice a little bit today. So thank you for hanging in there with me. Oh, I also had the question as to whether I decorate for Halloween. I love that question. I do decorate for Halloween, but I am so behind this year. Which is bizarre because I've actually had more free time this year than last few years, but I haven't decorated yet. I have a few things out, and I'm realizing that if I'm going to, in fact, decorate for Halloween, I need to go ahead and do it. I love Halloween and Christmas. They're my two favorites for decorating. So yes, I will be decorating for Halloween, and I guess I will get some pictures up since that was an interest. So I do have two vanishing points in my collection. My best friend gave me the black one for Christmas one year, and it came with, I can't remember if they call it the black oxidized or what Pilot calls it, but it was the black tipped nib. And I have, let's see, I think two of these, and I don't care for them. I like the rhodium plated, it's my favorite. I think I did finally, it's one of two things. I either finally got this nib adjusted to the point where I like it, or it's just the ink that I'm using in it currently that I really like with this pen. I'm going to find out. Next time I clean it out, I'm going to swap inks and see if it's still writing the same. And if it's not, I'm going to buy a huge bottle of that Colorverse Sunspot because I absolutely love that ink in that pen. It's a browner black than I would personally prefer, but I love the way it writes in that pen. So yeah, next time I clean it out, I'm going to swap inks and see how it's writing. And if it's still not happy, then I'm going to put a Colorverse ink back in it. And two, just to let y'all know, I do have a coupon code for Ferris Wheel Press. If you're interested in purchasing anything from their website, I'll put it in the description below. I'm part of their Jubilee program, so I technically get a kickback. But what I love so much about companies allowing for like affiliates like Amazon, I'm also an affiliate with Amazon, and Ferris Wheel Press has just added their products to Amazon.com as well. So there are many ways to purchase Ferris Wheel Press products right now. But what I love so much about companies allowing for the affiliate links is it really lets the content creators know what it is that our audience is interacting with. So typically we just get a few cents from these things, but it is so appreciated when y'all do take the time to use our links and our coupon codes, because then we know that you're interacting with our content, you're enjoying it, and you want to support it, and we're just very grateful for that. So Ferris Wheel Press right now, they have a loyalty points program, which I've been using, and it's pretty cool. You sign up, it's free. You get points right off the bat, and I think when I signed up, like I had enough to just go ahead and get a gift card, and I used it. So you can get inks, pens, whatever it is you're interested in. They have some exclusive products for the loyalty members, but it's completely free. You just sign up and you can choose to use the points or not. But it's pretty cool. I'll link it below. And I've enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. You get birthday points, points for when you make purchases. If you want to, I think they have like social posting and stuff you can do to earn even more. So you can be earning free inks and free pens, and I think that's pretty neat. They've really diversified between having the Jubilee program for like the content creators, and now they've brought it to the public so anyone can really be an influencer and get rewarded for it at the same time. I think that's really great. They've also added their products to Amazon, so you can just purchase directly from there and skip over all of that if you want. And as a content creator, I just would love to say that anytime y'all go to make a purchase on Amazon, go and find your favorite content creators' Amazon affiliate link and use it, because they will get a little bit of a kickback. It lets companies know that the audience that y'all are influencing and you're enjoying the content from that creator, and that you would like to see more from that creator. So it's very supportive for us, whether it's, that few cents we might get back, but really it's letting us know that our audience is happy with our content, that we're moving in a positive direction. I really love getting those little pings letting me know that my audience is happy with me. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, anytime y'all go to make a purchase from Amazon or something like that, find one of your favorite content creators, use their Amazon affiliate link. That's a little bit less money that Amazon keeps, and they pay it out to a creator, and you never know how much of a difference that might make in that person's life. So really appreciative of that. And speaking of being grateful for my audience, I am so grateful for y'all just for even listening to this video, watching me clean pens and listening to me ramble. This is just so amazing that we have this fountain pen community, people who are maybe first timers with the fountain pens. Like I love all of it. Gorgeous, expensive fountain pens, right on down to a Pilot Metropolitan. It's so much fun, all of the different inks, and just how it impacts our daily life, how we write and what we choose to do with it. I love it. It's been really fun. I love getting comments. I love reading them. Sometimes I don't reply right away, but I read them and I really do appreciate it. I love hearing that someone bought something because they saw my video. I love that, because you want people to find good stuff. That's really what you want. So yeah, I love reading comments like that. I love hearing about what other people are doing with fountain pens, what other people are collecting. Maybe it's something I've never heard of before and want to try. I wish I could buy every single thing that is suggested to me. I would have to be a millionaire, but I do love the suggestions. I always take them to heart and try to fit them in at some point in the future. But yeah, very appreciative to my audience. I really appreciate y'all. And if you are a first-time fountain pen user and you are watching this video going, oh my goodness, cleaning fountain pens looks like a lot of work and it looks like it takes a lot of time and maybe that's not something I want to do, don't be discouraged. This is just me cleaning my fountain pens. There are faster ways to do it. Don't be discouraged at all. Definitely find some tutorials. I have some specific tutorials on my YouTube channel. But yeah, don't worry. If this is looking intimidating, it's not in the least. One of my most asked about fountain pens in my collection is the Sailor Pro Gear Stellar Black Hole. It's one of my favorite pens of all time, and it is called the Captain Kirk pen, if you haven't been on my channel very much. It is a yellow, gold, and black, gorgeous, sparkly pen, but it has a very vintage look and feel to it. And it was nicknamed the Captain Kirk pen, and it just still gets called that. I have one with the zoom nib, and I love that pen. I love writing with it. Sometimes it can be a little inconvenient if I need to be writing a lot. Like I'm like, all right, I got to sit down, I got to buckle down, and I'm going to be writing for at least an hour. It can be a slightly inconvenient nib because it does have so much tippage to it, and you're writing with a fatter line, a little bit more on an angle. So it's not my pen for long writing sessions. Anytime I need something a little bit more artistic, or grocery lists. I love writing my grocery lists with that pen. I don't know why, but I do. Note cards, anything like invitations, stuff like that. Love that pen for those purposes. And here I am, looks like I'm cleaning out a vanishing point piece. So I do have to clean the body of the vanishing point pens out. It's not too difficult. You just take the syringe and run the water through and just make sure there's like a little trap door at the end of that fountain pen. And you just want to make sure that gets cleaned out. It's not difficult. Thank you so much for watching this video and hanging in there with me. I will be having a part 2 to this video where I am filling up all of the fountain pens that I have cleaned out. So thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to comment below and let me know what you are currently doing in your fountain pen journey. Thanks so much for watching.